Greetings, my name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video out to you because you're watching. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, licensed presenters, the Core New Core, my patrons, and anyone interested in surviving and thriving as a Pilates instructor or student. I started out with nothing and just sort of came up with these four things that are all about the same thing, I guess. Pilates means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Just the word. And the assumption is in a way that the word refers to something specific, but really not within the history of the culture. When I hear talk about, or when I read text on social media about Joe this or Joe that, right? Joe this or Joe that, as speaking to or from a point of citing authority, I'm all about that too, because this point of view is about Joe's words in this book. I saw a celebration of a studio owner that's in the big city and has been there a long time and talked about preserving their way of doing things, preserving their part in the tradition. I'm all for that. For the most part, because if not for the effort of historical reenactment to recreate the original work as is, without explanation, you would lose the basis of which the explanation applies or comes from or derives itself. Okay? Everybody has their role. And so number 2 is, can there be more Joe than Joe? If this really is the only authority we're going to cite as of Pilates, that would be a good question. Is there any book out there that explains what Pilates is, based on Joe's original work? His words, his picture, his film. That being the evidence, not tradition, not word of mouth, not folklore. See? So within the primary culture in 2019, soon to be 2020, can there be more to Joe than Joe, which is the title? And what I mean by that is, or what I'm asking, the question I'm asking is there something beyond the folklore? I mean, of course, I feel there is in your experience with my point of view over multiple recordings. And that's where MMP, one of the 2 things I want you to be knowledgeable about, is the point of view of MMP is that Pilates has an essence of its own, and that it can be explained. Up to a point. Which also leads itself to the very mystery of what it means, what the human experience is all about. What do I mean by that? Observing. And the capacity in observing that's necessary, that you reach for in the performance of the choreography. Can there be more Joe than Joe? Does Pilates have an essence of its own? And in the MMP point of view, one of the two things says yes, it does have an essence of its own, and the definition of it according to seeking the ideal or trying to describe the ideal. Now, Freeman and Eisen tried to describe it as well. And so the MMP POV is just another effort at describing a word that has become the meaning of 10,000 things. So that was number one. Pilates has a lot of different things, means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, for a lot of different reasons. And so just the immersion of the culture of folklore is intoxicating, and much of what one pursues in Pilates is whatever gives them direction beyond whatever they want Pilates, whatever they want to make of Pilates. Because they're unaware of Pilates having an essence of its own, and then your relationship to that essence as a student and then as a teacher. So number 3, the title is See Past the Man. So there's Joe this and Joe that, and this whole indulgence about opinions based on word of mouth about anything that has to do with Pilates. It's a very fertile culture. Even though I think there's good reason for wanting to have it only be a culture based in folklore and word of mouth, and that the intrusion of any kind of explanation was surely insolent and will never reach the aristocracy of what has sought to influence it based on their opinion without any reason attached to it. And if the reason was attached to it, it was, or is, what it is. MMP is one point of view out of thousands. And in that point of view, there's more to Joe than just Joe. There's number 3, there's the man, there's see past the man to the method. See the method. See the method. If a person is at the focus of everything, maybe I guess it's the character of the focus that matters, not necessarily the focus itself, but idolatry. It seems to me that just being into Joe and focused on just him is a form of idolatry where you don't allow yourself or don't even want to go beyond the focus on him to his focus on his method and see the method beyond the man. And sad to many, but true, that method can be explained at least by MMP, if not by other burgeoning points of view that seek the ideal within the method. To find one if one is there. Number 4. The man and his method. The man and his method. The title of number 4 is, it's about the experience. And the comma stupid is left off, but implied. It's about the experience. In MMP, Pilates is an experience. So that's just a really narrow point of view about all the points of view, yours, of mine, and everybody else's, that they take towards Pilates. But in its narrowness, it's also distinctive in that it specifically states that Pilates is an experience, and it lets Joe's book explain that experience through the eyes of the MMP POV, the Michael Miller Pilates point of view. Just one point of view out of many. And it's a very narrow point of view as to how it sees Pilates, because it seeks to illuminate that which is already there, right out of here. And the fact that it comes right out of Joe's book and comes to you as an experience, that's pretty tight. What's tighter than that? And that's why, in terms of knowing about MMP, MMP gives you a direct relationship to the method. Because under that point of view, there's an experience involved in it. Complete coordination of being, thinking, and observing. As a state of being in the body, in the moment of the doing, while pursuing the mat or something that resonates to it. Because the mat itself is the target, always will be, because it is what it is as a poem, and you don't change poems, and the poem is a reaction to the reality a human being finds itself in, and recognizing that conditioning that is important to be prepared. So, because Joe is a survivor, his method is survival training. And so right there, you have these two things I want you to know about are both experiential. You can feel them. So the two mountains of knowledge. If knowledge is power, know about core new tension. And know about it from a sensation that it has to offer you. And the more you engage in it and control it, the better you're able to move through space. And then know about MMP as a POV of Pilates in general. Like it's one of those points of view, just one point of view, just one brand of Pilates. I would say it's a significant brand because it's distinctive, and it's distinctive because it's not based in folklore, which is the major culture that exists in 2019. It comes from a theory that Pilates has an essence of its own. Based on Joe's definition, Joe's statement that contrology develops the body uniformly, and the sequence of exercises in the mat. Those three things. I think it's only natural to want to go splash around and be part of the culture and find birds of a feather. But if we're talking about birds and movement and flight and the ability to move and the ability to fly and the ability to help others learn and be able to fly and teach others, theory comes in handy. There's my title. Theory comes in handy. All right? And so in MMP, it's simple, it's easy. It's rock solid as a point of view. And it gives you a target to aim for. The sequence, the third thing, the movement, the mat. Now you may never do an actual Pilates exercise in your life because you don't have the capacity to. But in doing Pilates, you'll be reaching for uniform eccentric loading, flowing through progressive patterns of movement. Without the flow, there is just no go. Life can't live forever. Read between the lines. See behind the curtain. Connect the dots. Evaluate points of view and then add 2 and 2. Direct your thinking. Geist.